Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post of Parashat Vayechi is titled The Left and Right of Parenting. This week's Parsha predominantly focuses on the idea of parenting and relationships with our children, as we see Yaakov gives blessings to his children and to his grandchildren, Menashe and Ephraim. And Yaakov, being the patriarch of Am Yisrael, at this pivotal moment before his death, where he's giving blessings to his children and grandchildren, I think we can learn out important messages for parenting. And what we see is this powerful imagery of Yaakov placing his left and right hand on his grandchildren, Menashe and Ephraim. He places his right hand on Ephraim and his left on Menashe, even though Menashe was the older child. But what we see is a deliberate action, a deliberate way that Yaakov is thinking out in what is the most appropriate way that he can give the blessings to Menashe and Ephraim, and he's using his left and right hand. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin talks about the idea, this teaching of small dochav yamin makareves, in how we educate and raise our children, that we should use our left hand to push away, to set limits and boundaries for our children, and we should use our right hand to draw near, to show love and warmth towards our children. So with this imagery of Yaakov using his left and right hand, and the teaching in the Gemara and Sanhedrin, we have this message of a balance between the left and right hand, a balance of small dochav yamin makareves, a balance of love and limits. And this is backed up in the research that discusses parenting styles, that a parent that is overly focused on the left hand, that is overly strict, overly authoritarian, this has a negative effect on the child's development. Or if a parent that has a parenting style that is overly focused on the right hand, that they are overly indulgent and permissive, this also has a negative effect on the child's development. Well, the parenting style, what the parents should look for is a middle ground, that they are authoritative, that they are able to hold this balance between the left and right hand, this small dochav yamin mekareves, that they know how and when to set limits and boundaries, and how to show and express their love in an appropriate way as well. What we have is this image as well of the left and right hand, that we know that the left hand is usually weaker and the right hand is stronger. So even though it's a balance, there is actually a ratio here, that perhaps for every negative or criticism or chastisement that a parent needs to give, that they use their left hand as setting limits and boundaries, there should be more positive reinforcement, positive feedback and compliments to the child, that even though we want to hold this balance of left and right, there is a ratio that the child is more likely to respect the boundaries and limits that we set if it is coming from an environment where there is greater positive reinforcement and positive feedback. And Yaakov Avinu also, he understood this. He had this left and right hand that he was using when blessing Menashe and Ephraim, but also in the blessings that he gave to his children. We see that when he gave a blessing to Shimon and Levi, there was an undertone as well of chastisement. He criticized their behavior, their anger that they showed. But even though he was criticizing their anger, as Rashi points out, he was criticizing their actions, their aggressive behavior, or the anger that they showed, but he was not criticizing them personally. This is also shown in parenting and parenting guidance, that if we have to set limits or give criticism, it should be done in a way that we criticize the action or the behavior, but not the child themselves. And this is the balance, therefore, between left and right hand. But Yaakov, as we've seen in previous parashas, did show favoritism. He showed favoritism towards Yosef. So what is this parenting style of Yaakov, perhaps, of showing favoritism to one child? And I think we can learn out something important as well from the blessing that he gives to Yosef, because within this blessing he focuses on how Yosef has been successful. Despite all the difficulties and challenges that he has faced, in his life, he has been successful. And the pasuk says, "Vateshev be'ito kashto," "Vateshev be'itan kashto," that his arrow, his bow, was sat firmly. As a translation, his bow was held firmly, and therefore you could shoot the arrow accurately, and it could be shot far. And I think this is a very powerful message as well, because the Kotzker Rebbe, based on the pasuk in Tehillim, which says "Kichitzim biyad giborim ken hanaorim," that just the arrows in the hands of the warriors, so too are children. That a warrior, an archer that holds his bow, an arrow, and holds it close to his heart, the closer he holds it, and the stronger that he holds it, the further and straighter the arrow will go. And so too, as the Kotzker Rebbe explains, with parenting and children, the closer that we hold our children, and the stronger that we hold our children, the further that they will go and the straighter that they will go. And I think this is the message that in the bracha that Yaakov gave, that perhaps he did show favoritism, and perhaps this is the message he's giving in the blessing, that Yosef was successful, but he understood that Yosef was going to face challenges and was going to be in difficult situations, and Yaakov perhaps knew that he needed to hold him closer and stronger to him. That he had needed to hold the bow closer towards him in order that Yosef will be able to go straighter and further and remain on the straight path despite all the difficulties and going into imprisonment and going into Mitzrayim. This was the favoritism that he showed towards Yosef in order that he would be successful in his life. And therefore, so too, we need to hold our bow and arrow. We need to hold our bow and arrow as parents with the left and the right hand, to hold it firmly, but allow the arrow to shoot forward, to allow our children to go far and to succeed in their life. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.